Chapter 8 At Home. For the remainder of this text, after most grammar units, such as the last lesson, we'll have a vocab building lesson. Hopefully, this back and forth between wrapping your head around new concepts, as in our last chapter, and learning some new words, as we'll do in this chapter, will keep things invigorating. In this lesson, we'll put a name to some of the most common things you'll encounter around the house. Let's jump right into the vocab.
家、
House,
部屋、
room,
居間、
living room,
台所、
kitchen,
冷蔵庫、
refrigerator,
お手洗い、
bathroom, polite version,
トイレ、
toilet, bathroom,
流し台、
nagashidai, sink,
お風呂、
ofuro, bath,
お風呂場、
ofuroba, bathroom. Asterisk indicates that it is properly written in katakana. We're almost there.
屋根、
Roof,
天井、
ceiling,
壁、
wall,
床、
hardwood floor. Notes. Heya. This word can mean either a general room or one's own bedroom. In a later lesson, we'll learn how to specify my room. Oterai is a very polite word for restroom. It literally means the hand-washing place. Notice the honorific O attached to the front. Toire, which is taken from the English toilet, and so should actually be written in katakana. Since we don't know enough katakana at this time, we've temporarily written it in hiragana, even though when we hear the word toire, we think of a physical porcelain receptacle. The Japanese word simply refers to the room. The word is very middle of the road, being lower than the polite restroom, but not vulgar like, for instance, the can. Ofuruba. The suffix ba here means place, making this word mean bathroom. In a more literal sense, this is the room that has the bath, which is always separate from the room that has the toilet. See the cultural note on the ofuru? You'll never see a bathtub in this room. Let's learn a few more words relating to the home environment.
ドア、
Door. That's probably katakana.
窓、
A window. Mado.
本、
Hon. Book.
本棚、
Hondana. Bookshelf.
椅子、
Isu is chair.
テーブル、
Teburu. Table.
ベッド、
Beddo. Bed.
畳、
Tatami. Tatami.
障子、
Shoji. Sliding paper door.
布団、
Futon.
テレビ、
Terebi. TV.
ラジオ、
Radio. Radio.
時計、
Toke. Clock/watch.
エアコン、
Aircon. Air conditioning. Tatami. This is the name for the woven mats that form the flooring for traditional Japanese room. A tatami mat is not a lightweight affair. Don't confuse it with something like a jute mat, which you might roll up. Tatami mats are rigid, rectangular blocks that measure 90 centimeters by 180 centimeters by about 5 centimeters thick. Tatami mats feel great to walk and sleep on, see below. They have a slight spring, so they're softer than hardwood, and they're not as cold. Tatami mats are so central to the Japanese concept of living spaces that room sizes are usually given as the number of tatami mats that could fit inside. That is to say, instead of naming the number of square meters, a real estate agent showing a person around an apartment might say, and here's the second bedroom, a little smaller at 4.5 jo. Jo is a unit that means exactly the space of one tatami mat. Going hand in hand with tatami is shoji, the sliding rice paper doors for which Japan is famous. The beauty of shoji is that it provides some privacy from the outside while also letting light in. Even today, most homes have at least one traditional room with tatami floors and shoji screens. Futon. A futon in Japan is very different from a futon in the West. A Japanese futon is not a couch that folds down to become a bed. Rather, it refers to a thin cushion, thin enough to fold in thirds, that is placed directly on the tatami, as well as all the blankets. In fact, Japanese people often use the words to refer only to the blanket or comforter, often a lightweight but very warm goose-down quilt. You might translate futon as the Japanese bedding. During the day, futons are folded up and put in closets, unlike beds. And very unlike Western futons, Japanese futons are never left out during the day, except by lazy college students. These days, Japan continues to become more and more westernized, and more people opt for Western style beds. But futons are convenient for the small spaces in Japan, and they are the traditional style of bedding, so you'll certainly see them. Terebi and aircon, shortened from terebijon, and the absurdly long air conditioningu. Let's put one more list of words under our belt before we move on.
皿、
Is plate. Sara.
茶碗、
Chawan is bowl.
コップ、
Kopu, cup or glass.
お箸、
Ohashi is chopsticks.
フォーク、
Hoku is fork.
スプーン、
Spoon is spoon. Spoon.
ナイフ、
Knifeu for knife.
カウチ、
Couchy for couch.
コンピューター、
Computer for computer. Copo, even though this word sounds like cup, it actually comes from the Portuguese copo and usually refers to a small drinking glass, though it would certainly work for a non-glass cup too. Hauku, this word deserves a little extra discussion. Like many of the other words in the list, it is a loan word, so it would normally be written in katakana. However, there is an additional wrinkle. As you know, for your hiragana and katakana chart, the only F sound in Japanese is fu, which means that using the ordinary spelling rules, it's not possible to make the fo sound. That's why when the word forku, or hoku, the word fork was imported into Japanese, it was brought in as hoku instead of foku, which would have been a closer match. However, in modern Japanese, so many words have come in from foreign languages that do make use of such sounds that the Japanese have invented a way of representing them. In the case of this word, a more modern spelling is this katakana. That's a regular sized fu followed by a half size o to make the sound fo, followed by a katakana only vowel extender. Since we haven't yet finished learning our katakana, I don't expect you to fully follow along here. The main point is both hoku and the newer foku are both acceptable to mean fork. To finish up this lesson, let's take a look at our next 10 hiragana characters. Here we have the S series. Notice that in hiragana, the second character in this set is she, not si. Sa, she, su, se, so. Notice that se is basically an abbreviated version of the same character from the hiragana syllabary. What would normally be the second stroke in the hiragana se is reduced to a hane. You should already be able to guess what happens when we add 10-10 to these characters. Just like the parallel hiragana series, 10-10 create Z sounds, with the exception of she, which of course turns to G. Za, ji, zu, ze, zo. Be careful with sa, as it looks like the hiragana character se. The last stroke in this character must be written from the bottom up. Also notice that the angle isn't as steep as in so, below. The first two strokes point more in direction of the horizon than the elements of so. If you find it easier, most people write so using all straight lines. There's no need to curve at the end of the first stroke. Don't skip on the hana at the end of the first stroke. Give it the same oomph you might use when finishing off a check mark, and you'll have a great looking se. Make so look different from she by emphasizing the fact that both elements in this character point down to the ground. The second stroke must start from the top. Here we have some practice katakana of the T series. Now don't start to panic when you see Sue up there. Yes, this character looks eerily similar to both she and So from our last set. There's a memory aid on the next page. Ta, chi, tsu, te, to, dajizu dedo. 10-10 on the characters in this series work exactly like they do in hiragana. These sounds turn into D sounds. The small su rule also works just like hiragana. The su can be written half size to double the next consonant. Ta doesn't present many challenges. Just get the nice katakana curve in there. In chi, the first strokes start from the right and goes down and hard to the left, which is very unusual. As a general rule, all the strokes go from left to right and from top to bottom. So you need to remember that this character is special. Also note that the last stroke pulls straight down and then curves at the end. To remember the difference between su and so, it might be helpful to remind yourself that su, 2 short strokes at the beginning instead of just one. Like the character so, the last stroke must come from the top. Keep te and chi straight by remembering the 2 main differences. The first 2 strokes in te are parallel, and the third stroke doesn't go all the way through as it does in chi. To is easy, just keep the first stroke vertical and you'll be fine. Here's some more reading practice. In this lesson, we learned vocabulary for things you're likely to see around the house. We also learned several words which are clearly borrowed from English, such as doa and terebi for door and television. As foreign loan words, they should probably be written katakana. To that end, we've learned 10 more katakana characters. Great work so far. Now be sure you've got things locked in by crushing the reviews below. Here we go with the chapter review.
Are? 惜しい。完璧。
Shijiki.
惜しい。惜しい。やった。
What is the name for the woven straw mats used in Japanese home?
やっ
Tatami.
た。
What is the name for the paper doors used in traditional homes?
やっ
Shoji.
た。
What is closest to the Japanese meaning of futon? Japanese
やっ
bed.
た。
Choose the correct romanization.
完璧。
Sasuga. Choose the correct romanization.
やった。 もう一度。やった。
Ichigo.
やった。
Soshitsu.
完璧。
Toire.